All right, welcome in. It is Monday. It's time for Total Bases. The trio is back. Thank you to my two co-hosts for holding it down on Saturday. I had something going on, but I caught what I could of the show. You guys did a great job. The parlay was a win, I guess. So Tokyo Brandon kind of got unlucky with a push in the Royals, but that first 5 bet pushes. Brian's total cashes, so we get a straight bet win, which hopefully gets us some momentum going into this week. We'd like to get that parlay into the plus by the end of the week. Of course, if you're new here, we give out a parlay on the show every show. We track it all year, and we're just a couple units in the negative right now. So we're going to turn that around. I had an okay weekend. I went 4-3, but one of my wins was my 5% play on Friday night. So feel pretty good coming into the new week. TB, how was your weekend?
Not as good as I'd like it to be. Pretty up and down, back and forth. Overall, I think I went 3-4 or 2-4. Not really good. But I do have a 5% play today. There is one game on the board that I really like, and it just bounced off the page when I looked at it. So that's my 5% today.
All right. And Brian, I was going to say, Brian, I want to know about how the weekend was at Las Vegas Ballpark. Obviously, you're disappointed in the result of the Stanley Cup. So tell us about your weekend and then kick us off. The COVID World Series was Rays Dodgers, and that'll be our feature game today.
A mixed result. If you joined us Friday, you went 2-0. If you joined us yesterday, you went 3-0 with a 4% in hockey. We closed it off. The Knights didn't win it for us, but we saw that one coming. So we had a nice big 4% on that. The sad part was Saturday was when I had a 5%. And I had the Milwaukee Brewers, and I released them at minus 135. They went off minus 170. The office had to pull the game down pretty early because we were so far ahead of the line. And you know what they can do at line value because we lost that game by a run, 9-8. I checked a couple of post-game game scores, and they had Milwaukee as the better team. Milwaukee should have won, but they didn't win. That's why they call it betting. So, unfortunately, everybody bet the 5%, and it lost, and everything else won. That's the way sports betting is. And if I had a chance to play that Milwaukee game at 35 cents cheaper than the giving price, I'd bet it every day. So that's just the way it is.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. I can think of multiple times this year where that's happened to me, and I actually had a play pulled, crushed the number. It just doesn't get there. But yeah, like you said, you'd make that bet 10 times out of 10 when you can get 40 cents better than the market. All right, Brian, kick us off. Like I said, Dodgers Rays, ESPN tonight. This is the national TV game here in the States, and it is a rematch of the very strange COVID year World Series that I believe, if I remember correctly, that I think that was at Globe Life Park in Arlington, Texas, just a neutral field. Just one of the weirdest times for sports, right? During that COVID season, the 60-game year. But they're going to rematch it here as part of course, the regular season. I believe we've got Nick Martinez for the visitors and Eric Lauer maybe for the Dodgers here. So Rays Dodgers, how are you seeing this one?
Glad you filled me in on the history because I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
Half the time, I don't even remember who the champions are in each sport when it gets around to the next season because I've already put it out of the back of my mind so I could start fresh. But, we got Martinez against Lauer to lefty. Two guys who have pitched well for their new teams this year. Lauer, I don't believe he's given up more than 2 runs in any of the games he's had. It was a good pickup for them, and it's worked out very well. Nick Martinez, last time out, I think it was last time out, he got hit a little bit. But before that, he'd been untouchable on the season. Like the spot here for Tampa Bay a little bit, but how often do you get the Dodgers at home in this price range of, I'm seeing as low as 150 up to 165. Lean with Tampa here. I still think he's a little bit better pitcher than Lauer is. And I like the situation for Tampa a little bit better, but I was hoping to get a little bit more here. I was hoping to get a 150 somewhere, and I'm not seeing it out there. So right now, lean Tampa Bay, but I'm going to keep this in mind for later on in the day.
Yeah, TB, we got a couple guys that we got a good look at when they were in Asia. Of course, Nick Martinez was in Japan for a while. Eric Lauer was on the Kia Tigers. Now they're both back in the States and matching up here. I'm with Brian. I kind of thought that this was cheap for the Dodgers. I, too, was hoping to get better value with the Rays. So how are you seeing Rays Dodgers?
Yeah, two pitchers. I'm not as high on the pitchers as Brian. And if you look at how they play against the team they're facing today, they both have 293 plus averages against, and they both have pretty horrible OPSs. Neither bullpen's performing very well right now either. I mean, Tanner Scott's an automatic run when he goes in. Blake Trinan loads the bases every time he goes in. So I think an over in this would be good. The one thing that worries me is Tampa's bats are a little cold. They were red hot, and now they're a little bit cold, but I think Lauer can heat those bats up pretty well, and I think this Dodger bullpen is a little bit in shambles. Very uninspired ball from these guys. I think this will get over the total here, so that's how I would go on that one.
Strangely, I like the spot for the Rays, and I also think so. Okay, so I'm going to backtrack here to the weekend. My 5%er on Friday night was the Angels. It came through. They beat the Rays in that game, and they actually came out and beat the Rays the day after as well. That series was not a good, like the Rays kind of played awful. And they played like they did win yesterday 8-3, but I think the Rays kind of played poorly overall in that series, like relative to like the way that they've played so far this season. And you look at the month of June for this Rays team, they had they dropped 2 of 3 to the Marlins. Like they definitely have not played the same caliber of ball that they played in April and May. And I think we all sort of saw that coming. Brian has brought up the luck metric. They were a very lucky team for the first couple months of the season. That being said, like they're still a good baseball team. Like they still play winning baseball. Now on Friday, I disagreed with them laying a run and a half. They should probably never be laying a run and a half. The way that they play, the way that they don't have a super potent offense. They're not going to win many games by 2 runs. But like here, I was hoping to catch them I was hoping to catch the run and a half here. I would have loved the Rays if I could have got the run and a half with them on the road at a reasonable price. But we're just not getting that reasonable price. I think the books have shaded this a little bit to maybe bait you into taking the Dodgers. This game's more even than I think the people are giving it credit for, but tip of the cap to the bookmakers. I think they put out a good line here that makes it tough to really get involved either way.
And there's tax to play the Dodgers, just like there's a tax to play the Yankees. So that's generally going to be overinflated.
Right. So that's true. And I guess what I'm saying here is I feel like the books are saying, go ahead, take the Dodgers with this price. I don't think they're putting the full.
Yeah.
Think about this for a second. This game is on main ESPN here in the States, like national TV. If anything, this would be the spot where the Dodgers should be overtaxed, right? Because everyone's going to have access to this game. This will probably be the biggest handle game of the night, but yet they're not, right? Brian, you said that they're as low as minus 150 some places.
Yeah, I agree. It's the last game on the board too, and they always seem to. If you play Hawaii football, you understand that.
The D-Gen game.
Yeah.
But
Drew Martin, the degenerate special, he calls it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the books I've noticed this season doing it more than normal. They're overpricing, or not overpricing. They're overvaluing the starting pitchers, in my opinion.
Well, and it's more often than not, it's the Dodgers in this slot too. This is like they are typically the team that's falling in this time slot. They're the team that MLB Network puts on whenever they have regional coverage at 10 o'clock. So the fact that you're looking at this game and it's not the typical Dodger tax here would be the Dodgers being close to a $2 favorite in this game. The fact that they're down in the minus 150 range is kind of where this is supposed to be priced. And again, I'm disappointed because if you gave me the Rays plus the run and a half and it was like minus 125, that would already be on my card. That would be a client play for me. But it's closer to minus 145, minus 150. I just think the books did a good job. I think they sort of nailed this one. All right, we'll go to a different game. Let's hop in the chat here. Let's see what we've got. I'm just gonna let's go to Slick Vic. He says Skeens keeps getting ripped. Now I'm just gonna parlay that into, I'm gonna take that comment, and we are gonna talk about the Pirates, but it's not Skeens. However, it's a guy that has gotten ripped a little bit since getting back to the big leagues. And Jared Jones.
Oh, sorry.
No, I know. We're going to talk about Pirates A's. Paul Skeens is not pitching tonight. The guy that is pitching is Jared Jones. He got ripped in his first start. The second time out against the Astros was good. Earlier this week, I guess you would call it five days ago, against the Dodgers, was okay. He didn't get ripped, but he only lasted 4 innings, gave up 2 runs, 3 hits. He's going to be on the mound tonight. Remember, the A's are still home, but Bryan Leonard won't be there because they're not in that home. They're heading back to Sacramento. So this game will be at Sutter Health Park, and it's JT Ginn on the mound for the home team. So Pirates, A's, Tokyo Brandon, do you have anything in this one?
Yeah, I made a video for WagerTalk's YouTube channel earlier. This game was in that video. I do have a 5% play up today. You can grab a double play, 2 of us, 2 of the 3 of us for 3 days, huge discount. Go to wagertalk.com and take advantage of the huge discounts they have. So this was on it. And I know that you're a big Jones fan, but I like the A's in this one, and I'll tell you why. They are hitting number 7 in MLB right now. Granted, the numbers might be slanted because they were playing in basically an elementary school field for a few days. But the Pirates are ranked 15. Huge advantage, A's. Bullpen is the biggest advantage here. I got the A's bullpen, despite playing in that ballpark, still ranked 3 in current form. And I got Pittsburgh ranked 27. So that's a huge discrepancy. Really hard to win when your bullpen is 25 ranks lower than the other team. Of course, if you're winning in the 7th inning, if you're losing in the 7th inning, your bullpen doesn't really matter whether they're good or bad because they can't change the outcome of the game. And starting pitching, I like Ginn. I like what I've seen. His walk rate is a little high. I wish he would get that down. Jones, despite his struggles, has great command and control on his pitches. He's within the acceptable range of walk-strike ratio. But I think the A's bats plus the A's bullpen advantage is just too big in this one. I expect them to win this one, so I took them on the money line in my free play.
Yeah, Brian, this is an interesting spot for the A's because they're still home, yet they have some travel. They'll be obviously traveling back from Vegas to Sacramento. Not crazy travel by any means. They gave up 23 runs yesterday. Not sure that really matters here. If anything, they got to rest some of their bullpen arms that needed the rest. So, A's, Pirates to you. How are you seeing this one?
Yeah, let me start off. I talked about this earlier, but there's still a lot of misinformation on the internet about this. Is not where it's Summerlin out here. The Las Vegas ballpark is not where the A's are going to be playing. Summerlin, as I mentioned before, Vegas is like a bowl, and in the middle of the bowl is the Strip, and that's the low point of the city. Summerlin is high. Summerlin's is really high, so the altitude is a lot different here. So you will not see the crazy scores that you did out here in Summerlin, although I will say out of the 6 games, 4 of the 6 went under the total. Nobody matches that. They only match the 2 games that they scored a lot of runs in. So keep that in mind, that the stadium is going to be down on the Strip, much lower altitude, and it's going to be a dome. So it has nothing to do with what we saw over the weekend. That said, we've got an Oakland team, or Oakland, Vegas, whatever, Sacramento team, the Athletics, who are about a 120 favorite here with a total of 10.5 against Pittsburgh. They just played in altitude here. They're going back to altitude in Sacramento. Pittsburgh is traveling. Ginn played down here in the minor leagues. He played for the Las Vegas Aviators. So he's very familiar with this stadium, as was the entire team basically, because they're all young guys. So it was a normal deal for the Athletics in this series, whereas Pittsburgh's coming into first time. I'm sure it's the first time they come into Soda Park, because they've only been there a couple of years now. So chances are it's the first time they've been in this park. It's an altitude situation. It's not the same as Colorado. Obviously much hotter. Sacramento gets very hot. I don't know what the temperature is going to be today, but I like Ginn here. And the main reason is, as was mentioned, the top bullpen arms for the Athletics did not have to pitch. None of them pitched more than one out of the last 3 days. The guys they had to use yesterday were the guys on the fringe of the roster, so that didn't have an effect on them. And you're getting an Athletics team who was just blown out by 11 runs or so, and they're playing again the next day. That's something you don't see very often. So I'm going to use the Athletics here as my part of the parlay. They're as low as 117 up to 125, but it's basically about a 120 everywhere.
95 degrees in Sacramento today and sunny. It'll be about 85 at first pitch. I can't listen. I like Jared Jones. Here's the thing with Jared Jones. I see there's a ton of upside for Jared Jones because the guy he's throwing 99. When 2 years ago, when he sort of burst on the scene as I think the consensus was, wow, this is, he's an ace. Maybe he's 1B. Maybe he's like a clear number 2 with Skeens clearly coming to take that top spot. That's pretty much what the consensus was on Jared Jones, and he got hurt. Missed an entire season, didn't pitch at all in 2025, was hurt the entire year. So again, if I go back and pull up let me see if I can get him. Yeah, in 2024, this is a guy at a 1.19 whip, over 121 and 2/3 innings at the big league level, 132 strikeouts. It was well on his way to sort of being he was trending toward top starter, right? Those are pretty good numbers. ERA maybe a little bit high, but we don't really care about ERA. We care about, the underlying metrics, elite whiff rate, fastball was 90. It was probably thrown about 97. So now he has the year off. He comes out throwing 99. I can't quite put my finger on why he's not having more success in his big league starts, because he looked unhittable in the minors during his rehab. The guy was unhittable. Now you can say, well, a lot of those starts came at Altoona, right? He pitched one start came from Bradenton. So, he's probably going to be unhittable against AA guys, A-ball guys, but I guess I kind of expected a little bit more from him to this point in his 3 starts back in the big leagues. So I can't bet against him because I guess I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Right? I'm waiting for the 7 scoreless that he's probably has in his back pocket, that's probably coming at some point. But I also like JT Ginn, and I the A's. Part of the reason. One, I'll go off to Brian's comment one more time, and this will be a little bit of a segue here. 1,000 Swords says, how did the Rockies score 23 runs yesterday? Well, the A's sort of ran out of pitching. The A's ran out of pitching, and then they just said the heck with it. Jeffrey Springs should not be pitching in that ballpark. He's an extreme fly ball pitcher, so he gets burned. And then the A's were like, all right, we're going to save all our pitching for this game, because on Friday and Saturday, the A's won a couple of close games. So they used a lot of their high leverage guys, and they don't have many high leverage guys. So that's part of the reason that game got out of hand. But that also helps the A's tonight, because JT Ginn is probably comparable to Jones. And now you got him back by, some of the better arms. I still think the A's bullpen is atrocious, but at least they'll have the better arms. That the guy that came in on Saturday, Alvarado, I feel like he should be unhittable. I don't know why he's got a mid-4 ERA. That dude's throwing 101 with movement. He should have I don't get it. I need to watch more of him at the big league level. But the point is, Brian, I'm in agreement with both of you. I think this sets up nicely for the A's. I don't trust Jared Jones enough yet to back him here on the road. So hopefully you're right about the A's, because that is the first leg of our parlay. You said minus 120?
Yeah.
Is what you're seeing?
Yep.
The Oakland, Sacramento, Vegas Athletics minus 120 will be the first game, first leg of the parlay. And yes, I'll mention it one more time. The A's are no longer playing at Las Vegas Ballpark. And if you watch AAA, which I watch a ton of, Sutter Health is those two are night and day. Sutter Health is very little altitude. There's almost no. I mean, it's one of the better pitcher parks in all of the PCL. So again, and of course the A's are used to playing there, and the Pirates are not. So good. I think you got a good one there, Brian, and that'll be the first leg of our parlay. Tokyo Brandon, coming back to you. Alex Rand, thank you for the donation. As always, the donations go to charity. They're much appreciated. It also bumps the comment up. So I sort of have no choice when it's going to come in this nice teal color, but to read it. And if you ask for a game, it means you're probably going to get your game talked about. So Tokyo Brandon, let's head out to the desert here. Alex wants to know, Angels have won 4 of their last 5. Do they stay hot tonight? They hit the road. It's Walbert Arena, Ryan Nelson, Angels, Diamondbacks. How are you seeing this one?
My home sweet home, Phoenix, Arizona. I'm going to have this game. My mom just told me over the weekend it was 105 in Phoenix, but they have a retractable roof, so they can get it. When you live in Arizona, 105 is not bad at all. When it gets to like 112, then you start sweating a little bit. At least that's how us people in Arizona are. Anyways, it's a dry heat. So about this game, the Angels are pretty hot right now. Urena, a guy who I didn't really know much about at the beginning of the season, but if you look at his body of work, as they say in college football, he's putting together a pretty nice season. Still only 4-4, but records mean absolutely nothing in baseball because you could throw a one-hitter and lose the game. So I never look at records for pitchers. It means absolutely nothing. Nelson, 5+ ERA. He hasn't pitched very well. The Diamondbacks have the names, but they're not really producing. They're pretty cold right now. Both bullpens, don't really trust either bullpen. But the Angels are hitting. I would take an Angel team total here, maybe. They're hitting quite well, and the Diamondbacks bullpen not playing well. And I don't like Ryan Nelson at all. So, I think an Angels team total would probably be a good play in this one.
Brian, Angels, D-backs to you. D-backs have some bullpen usage here. You think that comes into play at all?
Yeah, I don't have much of an opinion on this one, so I'll be brief. You had mentioned you liked Urena, and I'm starting to come around on him. So the pitching matchup is at least equal here. And the line seems to be, at least the way I would make it. I would make it about 130, and that's basically what you're seeing out there. So I'm not seeing any advantages, so I'll pass on this one.
Yeah, I do like Urena. I've cashed with him a couple of times recently. He's got, stuff wise. Listen, when we're in June, it's June 15th. Walbert Arena. Just want to make sure I don't misspeak here. Yeah, he's thrown. I was trying to find his innings. Anyway, he's pitched fairly regularly, I guess is the point I wanted to make. Yeah, 55 and a third innings so far at the big league level this year. Guy's got about a strikeout per inning, and his expected batting average is 196. That's a very, very good relative to what you're going to see in that metric across the league. Expected batting average being under 200, expected batting average against being under 200, 55 innings into a season for a starting pitcher is that's bordering on elite. I would say that's pretty elite for that. That's something that you expect from like Scooble or something like that, right? Like those are the types of numbers that you typically get from a frontline starter. And so the fact that, he's right there in expected ERA is low threes. And then you look at just the stuff in general, got a 98 mile an hour fastball, but it's not even his main pitch. It's really like, he's throwing more change ups and he's kind of setting you up with the change up more often than not. And then he comes in and hits you with 99. That's good. Again, I think relative to, like, he's getting priced as somewhat of an unknown still. And he's throwing the ball like some of the better pitchers in the league. That's the appeal to him. Now, the Angels don't have as much of appeal as a team. And the original question was, the Angels have won 4 of the last 5. Do they stay hot? I don't know. I feel like they caught the Rays at the right time. I think a series they had prior, or at least last week, they hosted the Rockies. So, and I don't even think they played particularly well in that series. I think they ended up dropping 2 of 3. So I think the Angels are really a team I want to be backing. Not really. Like, I kind of go back to our conversation very earlier this year, Brian. We kind of made the point like, hey, like this Angels team might finish dead last. And even with even the fact that they played some good ball, I still think they're a candidate to finish dead last. Mm-hmm. So what does that say, right? Like they've actually played decent in stretches, and yet here they are still with one of the worst records in the league. Now they go to the desert. I don't know. I'm not betting against Arena, but I also am not getting enough to, I don't know, like plus 115 for the Angels. It kind of feels like the price is fair. I don't know. Like I would maybe lean. You know what? I'm going to throw a contrarian take out because I don't like just coming on talking about a game and giving zero actual thought. I think this game is going over. Okay, because I think the Angels can probably score some runs. I think the Diamondbacks might have maybe not their best relief setup here, and this might be Walmart Arena's first time at Chase Field, which is a very hitter-friendly park. So I wouldn't be that surprised. Like guys going to the desert for the first time too tend to get knocked around. Like this is just in my head, but like this is another place. It's not Coors Field, but it's still like a hitter-friendly park that he's going to have to deal with. So I'll call. What do you see for a total for this one, Brian? Is it 9 or is it lower than that?
Let me look. We're looking at total is 9 to the over, minus 15 or 20. I will point out that Arena's his walk rate and his ball rate are really bad. The problem is, do the Angels strike out a lot, but do they have the patience to work him for a walk? If I was the manager of Arizona, I would just let this guy bring his walk or his pitch count up because he really struggles, especially versus lefties. A lot of walks, so they can get a lot of guys on base if they are patient. But that's not something the Angels have done.
Right, and I guess if you can do that, like if you can get Arena, like if the Diamondbacks can get Arena's pitch count up a little bit and get him out of the game. The Angels don't have a great bullpen either. I mean, even though they've improved a little bit since last year, they don't have a good bullpen. So I'm at 9.35 on the total, which shows a little bit value to the over. And I even think that I'm like some of the maybe understated stuff. Arena's first time at Chase, some bullpen usage. Make that even stronger. So I do like the over. I don't know if that's going to be my parlay league, but it's a candidate on a kind of a shorter slate where I don't have as many opinions. So interesting game. All right. Remember, we've got that double play package. Tokyo Brandon's got a 5%er tonight. So check that out. That is I don't have anything up yet. I am not sure if I'm playing yet today or not. Again, like I said, there's only 10 games on the slate. I have I have 2 games that might make the card. So we'll see if we can get something out there. But double play is a great special. 3 days. Any of the 2 handicappers you see on the screen. I will have KBO most likely when those lines come up. And so, yeah, Tokyo Brandon 5%er. Obviously, take a look at that. And all the other specials. There's also long-term specials for the month of June that are on everyone's page. So take a look at that for your preferred handicapper. And those are out there on our page. All right, Omni Syndicate. He's asked for this one a couple times. So let's go back to let's get this one in here. He said, would love to hear your thoughts on the Mets versus Reds. Myers, that's Tobias Myers, who I believe is going to start this game for the Mets. And Chase Burns, who is one of the more electric, exciting young arms in Major League Baseball on the mound. Bryan Leonard at the Great American Small Park tonight in Cincinnati, Ohio. How are you seeing this one, Mets, Reds in Cincinnati?
Yep. The Mets, Myers, they've brought him back up from the minors. Myers from the minors to pitch this game. He'll probably go 3 innings or so. He's not fully stretched out. I don't think we'll see 5 out of him. Going against Burns, and Burns is a guy I've liked all season long. I liked him coming into the season, and he's done nothing to change my mind. Pitching at home, we're looking at a total of a line of about 135 out there, 137, and 8 to the over or 8.5 to the under. So I've been making pretty good money fading the Mets, and it's rare that you're going to get a Burns at home in this price range. I'm leaning with Cincinnati here. I think their starter will last longer. The Mets bullpen has gotten really good right now, but I'm still not a big believer in the starters, and some guys that they were really counting on are starting to regress a little bit. But Cincinnati's still missing their best hitter, and he should be. He says he's 90% well right now, so he should be back by the end of the week, I would assume, or something. At least playing a couple games in the minors or one game in the minors by then. But since he's not going to be on the field today, we don't have to worry about that. But I somewhat lean with Cincinnati here. I think it's a cheap number. I'm not buying either one of these teams right now, so I don't trust either one of them. From the second half of the game on, I much like the Mets here. So either Cincinnati, or let me check Cincinnati first 5 real quick. First 5, you're laying 20 cents more. Okay, so that's not something I'm interested in. Maybe we wait for Cincinnati to take a quick 2-0 lead or something here. And in the later innings, when it gets to the bullpens, we get some pretty good money betting live on the Mets. That's the way I'd approach it right now.
What about you, TB? Mets, Reds, how are you approaching this one?
Yeah, Cincinnati, only team in all of Major League Baseball that I have ranked 28th or worse in both bullpen and batting. So there's no way I could back that team. But when I see the team with the decent lineup, which is the Mets, and the team with the terrible lineup, and the team with the terrible lineup has the better pitcher, it usually is conducive to an under. I can't trust Cincinnati's bullpen for an under, but the Mets, if they're going to do a bullpen game, they certainly have an elite bullpen, at least elite in current form. Got them top 5 in Major League Baseball. Everything looks like an under to me. I don't think I would take it full game. I think I would take it first 5. I looked at it earlier. It was a 4. I don't really like 4 because more than likely it's going to be like 3-1 or 2-2, and you're going to get a push most likely. I'd love a 4.5 if the line moves, but it's not there yet. I'll wait it out.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously I've come on the show a couple of times, talked about the Mets and being a team that I was still interested in buying. It did burn me once in that Cardinals series. However, they did get the finale of the Cardinals series, and they came out over the weekend and were pretty impressive. Took 2 of 3 from the Braves. We talked about on Friday that being like sort of a huge series for the Mets, and they got the job done. They got, that was big for them, in my opinion, to go at home, take 2 of 3 from the Braves. It was like they needed that result. They got it. Now, are they going to turn the corner? I don't know. I feel like this spot has come up 5 times this year already, where the Mets win a couple of games and we're like, hey, the Mets are going to they're finally here. They're finally going to turn the corner. And then they go out and lose 4 straight. And they're right back into this like 10 game under 500 season's over type mentality. So I kind of wish I was hoping they wouldn't throw Jonah Tong in Syracuse yesterday. Because if you gave me the Tobias Myers Jonah Tong duo, I would probably have backed that here, but Tong made the start at Syracuse yesterday, so that means he's not coming up. He's not going to pitch today. Brian's right. It's probably going to be Myers for a couple of innings. So who goes behind him? I'm not quite sure. All things considered, I felt like the game was priced pretty appropriately here. I thought that they kind of, my number was actually very close to what the number is right now. So yeah, this is a tough one for me. I don't really want to fade the Mets as an underdog because I still think that I still think that they're a little bit undervalued generally in a lot of these games, at least where it opens. We talked about this last week. The Mets seem to take all sorts of money around this time every day right now. So it's almost like there's some thought that the Mets are just undervalued on a daily basis because they continue to take money every day. Here, I don't really want to go against Chase Burns, so I might go with Brian. Maybe if they get behind a little bit, you might be able to catch a nice in-game price with the Mets, but where it's at right now, no real value for me. So I'm not gonna have anything in this game. Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just guessing, but I would assume David Peterson may get the long relief here. He last pitch last Wednesday through 64 pitches. I don't see anybody else unless they're bringing somebody else up from the minors to go long here. So that's probably what you're looking at. And yeah, he hasn't pitched very well in the last 2 weeks. I got bombed actually last time out, but before that, he had seemed to be pretty good when he's piggybacking. So we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one. Okay, let's. So I kind of half answered. I half answered the donation question earlier when we were talking about the A's, but I think what that person really wanted to talk about was the Rockies, and so we should talk about the Rockies because I saw Mark Lambert in the chat mentioning this game, a couple others. Last week, I made a comment that I'm kind of going to backtrack on right now. So Tokyo Brandon, last week I said, you know what? So the Rockies and the Cubs played out in Denver last week. And I said, maybe the Cubs will get them. Maybe the time to back the Cubs will be when they play at Wrigley, coming up, in a few days. Of course, kind of saw how the schedule was going to work, knew the Rockies were going to go to Vegas and then have to go to Wrigley. So I said, maybe you'll find a spot in that series. I'm going to backtrack because I kind of like the Rockies here. I know they scored 23 runs yesterday, and people are going to be like, well, you're going to like a team after they score 23 runs. But I've got my reasons to think that the Rockies are still undervalued and not the worst play in the world. I'm going to hold them till after you guys, though. I want to see what you and Brian have to say first. So kick us off, Rockies Cubs, Wrigley Field tonight. Imanaga looks like Lorenzen. Looks like we might have some wind blowing out. I'll wait for Brian to confirm that. But TB, start us off, Rockies Cubs.
Yeah, I got a 5% play up, guys, and you can get a double play 2 of us 3 for 3 days, huge discount. One of the long-term deals they're doing is between now and Father's Day is like $3 a day or something like that. Yeah. So there's also a triple play, which is 3 days for 30% off for any one capper. So lots of specials. Go grab one. It's a good time because basketball's over, hockey's over. So now they're going to start putting football plays out. Anyways, I'm kind of against you here, Adam. And if I'm right, I want you to dress like me. And
I will not be doing that, but that's okay. Yeah, no, that's all right. If you're right, you can just be right. How about that?
I'll send you a package. But I like Imanaga here, and I like and he's not a guy I usually back, but against these Rockies, he's got 31 at bats, a 0.65 average against, and a 1.86 OPS. He's even better at home. Those are unbelievable stats. He's going to shut the Rockies down, in my opinion, today. I'm going to look for either the Cubs or I'm going to look for a Rockies team total under. I saw it was 3.5. I don't generally like 3.5s in Major League Baseball, but I think this looks to me like a spot where Imanaga goes 8 innings, 1 earned kind of game for him. And he's not a pitcher that I like to back. He's kind of old. And I remember watching him in the Japan series pitching for Yokohama DNA Bay Stars in 2012, I think. So he's not a youngster. But yeah, that's how I would go. I think the Rockies are going to get shut down pretty hard today.
All right, Brian. Okay, so I guess one of the very quick reasons I'm going to push back on that is, it looks like the wind's blowing out today. Okay, and that is my. I don't like backing Imanaga in this ballpark when the wind's blowing out because he is still a fly ball pitcher. It might not be as extreme as it was when he first got to the States, but he is a pitcher that throws fly ball outs, right? And so
Lorenzen.
Well, that's the thing, Tokyo Brandon. Lorenzen's not a fly ball pitcher. Lorenzen might get hit, but he keeps the ball on the ground. So you want to talk about a little bit of an equalizer in a game that's clearly priced as the Cubs being the favorite. That might be one of them. Brian, Cubs Rockies to you, and talk about the weather for a second if you've got that in front of you.
Yeah, it's only blowing out about 5 miles an hour. I don't worry about anything like that. You're getting a 9.5 because you've got Lorenzen and Imanaga on the mound, and Imanaga's been terrible lately. this was a guy who looked like one of the elite pitchers, big comeback year for him, and then he's fallen apart as of late. There's no way I can lay 2-1 for him. I see a lot of talent in these Colorado hitters, but they are coming off a series in which they had to use the pitching. So if I'm looking at this game, I'm either looking towards an over, but I don't want Imanaga in this is a fly ball pitcher laying 200 at home with the Cubs here. So I have nothing on the side, but if I'm looking for the total, you can still get nines out there at minus 120, 125. That would be the way that I would look for it. 9.5, you can get over it like plus 105, something like that, or even money. But I can't lay $2 the way Imanaga's been pitching.
He's got a 106 whip.
Well, that's because everybody throws. It goes over the fence. Okay. He's not walking anybody.
I mean, that's actually incredible that his surface numbers are still as good as they are. He had a stretch in May where he gave up 8 to the Brewers, 7 to the Astros, 5 to the Cardinals, and 6 to the A's. So the fact that his season numbers, that whip is still as good as it is really impressive. He did also, I guess it's worth pointing out that he had a run where he didn't give up much at all. Here's my thing. He's a fly ball pitcher. There's enough wind blowing out for at least it to register on my radar, okay, of the fact that the wind's blowing out. Maybe the ball's going to carry a little bit. The Rockies just saw him a week ago. Now, they didn't do anything against him, but they still got to see him for 5 innings, right? They still got he went 5 scoreless at Coors. That was shocking to me. I thought they were going to probably get him a little bit. They didn't, but they at least just got to see him a couple times through, so they're going to be able to take that info, make adjustments here. Now, I'll speak on the 23-run thing. For most teams, I'd be like, boy, you can't back a team the day after they scored 23 runs. They're going to come out flat, so on and so forth. That does not apply to the Rockies. The reason why is none of these guys know any better, okay? None of these guys know how to – they're just learning how to be big leaguers. None of them know how to lose or win at the big league level. If you're looking at this Rockies team, the Rockies last year were historically bad. They were one of the worst teams in the history of the sport. So, like, to me – if let's say I saw the Dodgers score 23 runs, I'd be like, oh, Garrett, they're going to be way overvalued the next day. They're coming out flat. Okay, for the Rockies, any confidence for this team is good confidence, right? Because this is a team that has done very little winning over the last couple of years. And you talk about this Rockies lineup as a whole, very young. Okay, so they're either guys that were on that horrific team last year, or they're guys that just came up through the ranks in AAA and they're getting their first taste of the big leagues. Cole Carrig, there's a couple others that this is their first taste of the big leagues. So a win, any win is a good win for the Rockies. Any win for the Rockies should get them going a little bit in the right direction. And then Brian, they didn't use anyone yesterday because Iverson Castellano, they called up. So he was actually in Hartford at AA. He came up, he threw a great game at AAA, and the Rockies just said, hey, come on up. He threw one good game at AAA after he was called up from AA, and the Rockies were like, hey, we'll see you in Vegas. We can use you for this weekend. He came in and threw 3 shutout innings yesterday in relief of Sugano. The only other guy they used was Castano, who is not the guy I want to see in the game if I'm backing the Rockies. So yesterday it was Sugano for 5, Blas Castano for 1, and then the Castellano came in for 3, which means all of those, like Halverson, the guys that like come out and throw 100, they're all there for tonight. So I will use Rockies plus 1.5. This was one I said I had 2 games today that I really kind of liked that I was looking at for a play. One of them is the Rockies. I'll take Rockies plus 1.5. Won't be surprised if I guess I'll be a little surprised if they win, but not that much. And I think that one run, I could see this being a close game. Go ahead, TB.
Lorenzen has 15 starts. He's putting 2 guys on base every inning, and he's got a 7.5 ERA. So, holy cow.
I mean, but here's the thing. Like, I don't think.
Holy cow! I don't care if he's playing on the moon.
Here's the thing with Lorenzen, though. the Rockies, I said this, so I wrote up my 4% play yesterday was the Rockies, and I wrote like they're not going to keep him in there for like the only reason Sugano stayed in for 5 innings yesterday is because he ended up with a 13-6 lead. Like the Rockies are not trying to push Lorenzen 3 times through the order, so they're going to see if he can get him through once. Then they're going to tiptoe into the 4th inning and say, all right, let's give him one more batter. And because of how yesterday worked out, he's going to be out of there. If the first sign of trouble, he gives up a crooked number, he's out. So yeah, Lorenzo's trash, but I don't think he's going to be in long enough for the Rockies to just be like, if he gives up 9 runs in an inning, yeah, we're probably screwed. I'll take my chances that doesn't happen. So I like the Rockies. That's my parlay leg. Tokyo Brandon, we need to hear from you. What are you using to close out the parlay?
So I am going to, this is kind of a tough one, but I'm going to go back to the game we already covered. I'm going to take the Mets Reds first 5 innings under 4 for my parlay leg. I just like it too much. I really would like to get a 4.5, but they're not available right now. I might alt it, but for the parlay, I'm going to say under 4 and pretty good number. I think you can get for that.
You can get under 4.5 at minus 140 or under 4 at basically even money.
Okay. I don't think most of our audience is going to be able to get a 4.5 though. Or could they? I don't know. You tell me, Brian.
Well, the FanDuels, the Fanatics, those DraftKings, the one that make you pay more juice. They don't want to return any money, so they're going to give you the half of the runs. You just got to pay a little bit more for it.
If I can say 4.5, I'll say 4.5. We need a win.
Minus 140 though.
We'll do it.
Colorado was minus 120, plus the 1.5, and my Athletics was basically 120. Seen as low as 113 up to 125 now. So we're eating a little bit of chalk today, but hey, a win's a win if we can get it.
Yeah, when you put 3 legs together, the chalk disappears. Kind of.
C-Dub, no, he says Trigg must have stock in the Rockies organization. No, at the beginning of the season, I said, listen, you have a team that was just one of the worst teams in the history of the sport last year that might win, that is still going to be one of the worst teams this year and priced like that, but they're probably going to win 20 more games than they did last year, maybe more. I'm going to be right about that. They will probably win 20 more games than they did last year. They are the most undervalued team in the sport. They are on a day-to-day basis. That's why you see me playing the Rockies. And for the most part, with success. I'm ahead playing them. I won again with them.
Argue about that. You've had the Rockies. They're this year's White Sox for you. So
yeah, and I also said this year's White Sox would be this year.
And we all said this year's White Sox was going to be.
I was going to say Adam sold his insider traded his White Sox stock for Rockies stock this year.
Yeah,
it's just called recognizing value. That's what we're supposed to be doing, and that's what I'm doing.
I know. You're winning, so who can criticize?
All right, listen. I want to get one more game in here before we close it out because we already talked about your game. So Tokyo Brandon, back to you. Phillies Marlins, another big favorite here. And the Phillies, Zach Wheeler versus what probably is a bullpen type game for the Marlins. How are you seeing this one?
Yeah, Max Meyer, holy cow, he pitched great yesterday. What a good pitcher. I'm going to start backing him. That's just some baseball advice. Wheeler is elite. He's one of the best in the league. He always goes deep. I looked at his outs prop. It's 18.5. He's one of the few pitchers that almost always gets an 18.5 because he goes very, very deep, but he generally will go 20 into the game. But I don't think I want to take an 18.5 here because Miami is a pretty sneaky good team. However, 58 at bats against Wheeler, and they have a 595 OPS, which is about 200 points below what I would consider average. So I think the Phillies will probably do a job here. However, Miami's ranked 8 in hitting. Philly is ranked 21 in hitting currently, but Philly has every other category. I think it's Phillies or nothing here. I haven't done it. And I don't know if I'm going to do a -1 or a -1.5, but it's Phillies or nothing, I think, here.
I may have misspoke there, Brian. It looks like they are going to go. It looks like it's going to be Ryan Gusto as the starter. They've been putting it. They've been putting a guy in front of him quite often this year. Like at least right now, he's listed. So I think we can all infer that even if they do throw like a, Basher, like one of those guys in front of him for an inning or two, that Gusto is going to be throwing the bulk of these innings here, which I think makes me like the Marlins a little bit less. I got to be honest. I think, I would prefer more of a true bullpen game, but if it's Ryan Gusto as the starter, I don't know if I like the Marlins as much as I thought I was going to. So Marlins, Phillies to you. How are you seeing this one?
I like Ryan Gusto a little bit better than you do. He's looked good in Miami. He came over from Houston, a place where I'm not huge on their the way they treat pitchers. That said, if you're going to play $2 favorite, I'd much rather take Philadelphia today than Chicago Cubs in this range. Wheeler has been hats off to him this year coming back from surgery. He has been so consistent. I think he had one subpar start all season long. If you take a look at Philadelphia over the years when he pitches at home, he is dominant at home. And we're getting a total of 7.5 to 8, which tells me that the lines maker kind of likes Gusto a little bit here too. And the Philadelphia batting has not been very good. So I'm either going to play Philadelphia and lay the $2, or I'm going to play the Miami team total under. One of the two will be on my card today.
I want to make something clear. I like the Marlins here. Like I can only make a case for Marlins plus 1.5. That's how I would play it. I just wish I knew, like, if the Marlins decide sort of halfway through the day that they're going to switch things up and throw an opener in front of Gusto, I'll like it even more. Reason, I don't want him in the game for more than like 3 innings. And that maybe he's not going to be in the game for more than 3 innings. But I talked about this quite a bit. The Marlins at the AAA level are generating a lot of these like sort of long reliever type guys where it's like they have a lot of guys that can be really good like once through the order. And if I knew that they were going to go Gusto like once through, he was only going to go 3 innings, they were going to go grab someone else from the bullpen once through and then kind of go with their leverage arms, I'd be more inclined to take the Marlins here. If it's going to be like Gusto as a traditional starter, suddenly they're seeing him for a third time. That's where I'm like a little bit concerned. That's where I pump the brakes on him a little bit. So far at the big league level this year, he hasn't thrown more than 4 innings in the start. So again, I don't know. I'll be watching this one throughout the day. I'd love the Marlins to put an opener in front of him. Maybe once they see the Phillies lineup, they'll throw a lefty out there to start it. Who knows? But that's something I'm going to keep an eye on, is to see if the Marlins go opener in front of Gusto once they know what the Phillies are going to do.
The only problem we run into is right now on the roster for Miami, they only have 2 lefties. They've got John King and they got Cade Gibson. Do you really want to waste a lefty in the first inning when you may need to match up later on in the game?
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a really good point. Something again, they have a bunch of good relievers in Jacksonville. I'll also be watching. So Monday tends to be roster shakeup day. I think it's when the front office guys get back from spending the weekend with their families. It's travel day for a lot of teams. You see a lot of roster movement on Monday. Typically, a lot of guys coming up from AAA going back down. I don't know why the Marlins are sitting on like 3 or 4 really good relievers at AAA. I'm gonna be looking for that as well. I also think they got rained out yesterday, so no one pitched in AAA for the Marlins yesterday. It was a rain out down in wherever they were playing. All right, let's close this thing out. Tokyo Brandon's got a 5% play. He's also using Reds, Mets under 4 in the first fight. Did we decide to go under 4.5 there? And if so, what's the juice on that, Brian?
4.5 minus 140. And then each of ours is minus 120.
And what's the Rockies juice? Minus 120 on that 1.5?
Yeah.
All right. So Tokyo Brandon 5% up on the site. Brian is going with the A's minus 120. I'm going with Rockies plus 1.5 minus 120. Tokyo Brandon is going Mets, Reds, first 5, under 4.5, minus 140. That is your 3-team parlay for the day. Check out the great specials on the site, and we will see you guys tomorrow morning for more Total Bases.